Recently, I installed an Ultra Gauge on the 4Runner just to give me a few gauges and to monitor a few things. I really like it, highly recommend it. It's an awesome product. But on our most recent trip, we were climbing a pretty steep grade with the 4Runner completely loaded down. I noticed our transmission temperatures got up to 219, and that's just a little warm for me. So I think what we should do is install a transmission cooler. Here's everything I got. So first of all, I went with a Tru-Cool, part number 4454. I did this because I like the technology. They're supposed to be really good for my research. They are kind of the best, but also they regulate the temperature. So that sounds a little silly because these things are designed to cool your transmission, but you can overcool them. Toyota says that these transmissions should run around 175, and if you cool these things down to 100 degrees, you're messing with the fluid and certain temperatures and things inside the transmission that I don't want to mess with. I like running things at operating temperature. Just don't want it to run warmer than that. This has some technology where when the fluid is cold, it flows through the large ports of the radiator and doesn't cool it very much. And then when it gets hot, it flows through the smaller portions of the radiator and cools. How it works, I don't know. I think it's called like low pressure drop technology, but that's a very brief overview of how this thing works and why I went with it. It's kind of like having a passive thermostat, if you will, without all the potential for failure, I guess. So we got that. The other thing that this actually comes with on its own is it comes with some 3/8 hose, which we will use. You get a bag of goodies, just various fittings and clamps and such. We'll use some of that, and it comes with these actually mounting bars. We will use those. And then I went and bought just basically a pipe fitting or a barbed fitting so that we could plug into the factory line that's in the 4Runner that runs into the radiator, and then we'll pipe it to this. I bought a bag of these. These are fluid pumps because we're actually also going to change out all of the fluid in the transmission as well. We'll go over that too. And honestly, that's pretty much it. I actually bought an extra roll of this just in case I needed a little more, but that should be really all we need, and some transmission fluid.
I wonder who hurt you. I wonder who made you so mad. Tell me, where did you learn to be so negative?
Conveniently though, this cross member here for the radiator, both upper and lower, has this threaded slot, or the threaded hole I mean, and these bolts are factory Toyota bolts. They actually came out of the platform when I took out the third row seat. Honestly, bending these brackets was very easy. It just takes some time back and forth just to get the radiator to line up how you'd like it to. And if I had to do this again, I'd remove the front bumper. Alright, I'm trying to get a good shot of this. It's a little difficult, so we're on the bottom of the radiator. Right, this is your lower radiator hose over here. This is the output line from the transmission cooler. This is the input line into the transmission cooler, the factory. So this is going from the transmission as hot, coming out and returning back to the transmission. And this is the line we're going to intercept. So we're going to go from here to our cooler and then back to the line up here. That's how we're going to route this. Where things are going to get a little messy. We're going to hook up the lines, and actually the reason I'm doing this right now also is because we're due for a transmission fluid change. So we're going to hook up one line, then we're going to leave the other line unhooked, and we're going to do a homemade transmission exchange. It's not going to be a flush, just exchange. We're just pushing fluid out, putting fluid in. So let's see if we can get this somewhat tidied up, because we got to clip off excess hose here. Doing these full fluid exchanges on the 4Runner is actually a really easy thing to do. It's just time consuming because you have to start the vehicle a bunch of times, watch how much fluid you pump out, then pump that same amount of fluid back into the transmission so you don't run it dry. What I will tell you, this is not necessary if you're keeping up with the regular maintenance of your transmission. Alright, this is the last one. Fluid looks a lot better, I think. Before we fill it up and do the procedure to check the level, I'm going to go ahead and just connect all this back up. Once the transmission hit the right temperature, I went ahead and pulled the check plug and then put everything back together. This is a pretty easy modification. You could probably do it in half a day. It took me a little longer with filming and everything, but it's not difficult at all. Honestly, the only thing you need outside the kit is just some extra 3/8 hosing just because you're running 2 lines all the way to the front. Now with the chart I've just put up, you'll see that honestly most of us should be changing this transmission fluid a lot sooner than we really are, myself included. And once I put a few miles on this thing, I'll report back what kind of temperatures I'm seeing. I really want to do a stress test with my 4Runner completely loaded down and towing a trailer. So let me know what you think in the comments. Would you install this cooler, or would you just simply change your transmission fluid sooner? Oh, glad that's done.